All right, now this week we're looking at, this week and probably part of next week, we're looking at Chapter 9, A Changing Alabama. 5 sections: Agriculture, Section 2, The Changing Role of Industry, Section 3, Transportation and Changes in the Cities, Section 4, Changes in Education, Religion and Culture, Section 5, Politics and Civil Rights. Agriculture, your essential question: how did farming change after the Civil War in Alabama? So by the time we get to the end of this section, you need to be able to answer, how did farming change after the Civil War in Alabama? That's your EQ. What terms do you need to know? Agricultural economy, sharecropper, credit, tenant farmer, normal school. Introduction. From 1865 to 1900, most Alabamians lived on farms, and the state had an agricultural economy. The state's wealth depended on the farming. That meant how much money we had in the state depended on farming. Cotton was the state's major crop. Freedmen. Many freedmen left plantations and moved to towns. Few of them could read or write, so they had limited job choices. The Freedmen's Bureau tried to help, but there were few jobs to be found in the South. Small farmers. Many small farmers were in bad shape after the war. They didn't have money to make repairs or start farming again. Plantation owners had their lands, but the farms were in bad shape and they didn't have workers to farm the land. They had houses for workers, but they had no money to pay them. Freedmen, who were the poor whites, and the plantation owners came up with 2 solutions: sharecropping and tenant farming. Sharecroppers are farmers who lived on the property of a landowner and used the owner's seeds and tools. The worker agreed to give part of the crop to the landowner. The farmer would supply other needs with credit from the owner. Tenant farmer. Tenants owned their own tools and animals but farmed the land of a landowner. Tenants bought their own seed. They paid the landowner at the end of the year. Life was hard, but each plan made it possible for farmers to feed their families and sometimes make a little money. Plantation owners could keep their farms going. Farm improvement. Bad weather, poor soil, insects, and low prices affected farmers' lives, affected them in a bad way. 2 schools were started to study new ways to farm the land. The schools taught ways to harvest bigger crops, take care of land, and grow different crops. This is a picture of cabbages that are being grown on the farm at the Tuskegee Institute. Schools to help farmers and train teachers. Bad weather, poor soil, insects, and low prices affected farmers' lives in a negative way. 2 schools were started to study new ways to farm the land. The schools taught ways to harvest bigger crops, take care of land, and grow different crops. Congress passed the Morrill Act to increase learning in agriculture, engineering, and military training. Auburn University. The town of Auburn and the Alabama Methodists donated land and buildings for a college. It was called Agricultural and Mechanical College of Alabama. In 1899, the name was Alabama Polytechnic Institute, and finally in 1960, it became Auburn University. Alabama A&M University. Blacks were not allowed to attend Auburn. The state-colored normal and industrial school was started in Huntsville in 1873 for black students. The school grew and was renamed Alabama Agricultural and Mechanical University, Alabama A&M, and that was in 1969. Normal schools were started to train teachers. Tuskegee University. The Negro Normal School in Tuskegee, now Tuskegee University, was started. Booker T. Washington was the first president. Dr. George Washington Carver joined the staff in 1896. He helped farmers grow potatoes, peanuts, and soybeans. Farmers learned to rotate crops. A movable school went across the state teaching farmers how to grow better crops and take care of farm animals. The Grange. The Grange was a group that worked to help farmers and their families. The group worked for rural mail delivery and other programs to help farmers. Mail delivery to rural areas was important was an important issue in the early 1900s. And then in a few days, we'll be looking at section 2. We have 5 sections in this chapter.